following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to another edition of the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you around the world tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and on Simul TV on Channel 54. Before we get to my guest this hour, a good friend of mine and the host of Paranormal StakeOut, Larry LAWSON. It's been a very strange month so far with, four suspected Chinese surveillance aircraft or craft that have been shot down. 3 just this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And yet we are no closer to knowing what the shoot downs were over Alaska, over the Yukon, and over Lake Michigan this past weekend. We do know that the balloon that was shot down over the Atlantic near Myrtle Beach was in fact a spy craft. It did have intelligence gathering information. And I think the first clue should have been when it hovered over Malmstrom Air Force Base that has 130 ICBMs based there. And it stayed stationary for an hour gathering intelligence. That if that was me, I would have shot it down well before that. But hey, I'm up here in Canada. We did the same thing. We just let it go right across the country and everybody's saying, hey, there goes another UFO. Boy, don't you know. But as soon as we find out what's going on, we will let you know. The February edition of the X Chronicles newspaper is published and released tomorrow. And I will be putting the link to the newspaper up on our Facebook page at facebook.com/X Zone Radio TV. With all the homework done, all the messages that we had to get out there, let's bring our guest in this hour. Larry LAWSON is his name. He is, as I said, he's the host of Paranormal StakeOut, and he is also the gentleman behind Indian River Hauntings. And Larry, welcome back. Always great talking to you, my friend. How are things in Florida these days?
It's a little cool today. It was cool today. I think the high only got up to 72 Fahrenheit, so it was a little cool.
If you're looking for sympathy, you're not going to get any here.
It's going well, and it is really a pleasure to be back on the air with you, Rob.
Larry, for those who haven't had the opportunity of listening to you or watching you since we've gotten so many new affiliates, tell us about you. Who is Larry LAWSON?
Well, basically a career law enforcement officer and criminal justice educator. I spent about 40 years carrying a badge. Finally hung it up completely 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in this coming August. And
wow.
And so it was a great honor serving, but my time had come, and now essentially I continue with my desire to teach others the history of our area, as well as delving into things all paranormal.
Let me ask you this. 3 years later, do you miss it?
Wow. Miss the people, miss the accomplishments.
Yeah.
Don't miss what's happening in the world.
No, it's...
it's... You were there, you get it.
Yep.
We have, and what people don't understand is there's a lot of us that are imperfect and do things that we shouldn't, and they should be taken care of. They should be removed. But it's gotten to the point where even where the good folks, which is 99%, are afraid to do a whole lot. It's just a difficult time now.
That's because everybody's painted with the same brush.
Yeah, and that's the reality of humankind. One does it, so they all must do it. And it's a shame because 99% of the folks out there, my daughter served proudly for 15 years. All they want to do is serve.
Yeah.
And it's just a difficult time. But so do I miss it? Yeah, sometimes I do, but I'm glad I'm not in the mix anymore.
Tell us where your interest and love for the paranormal comes from, Larry.
Wow. Well, my very first encounter,
Hmm.
a lot of folks talk about, well, when I was a kid, this, that, and the other thing happened. None of that was with me. It wasn't until I had gotten my start in law enforcement. I was just a kid, 20 years old, working in the Dade County Jail in Miami. And I was just sitting in the control booth one night. It was on the 4th floor. And I'm looking down the center. You got an enclosed booth, you got a lobby, you got an elevator, and you've got 3 jail wings. And on the outside of the jail wings, you have a walk around. We call it the catwalk. And you could see through the end of each cell block. And I'm just looking straight ahead, and individual walks right to left. Nothing ghostly, nothing see-through, nothing spectral about it.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, lieutenant's up on the catwalk. So the 2 guys that were with me shot out the back of the control booth. One went right, one went left. They came back. There's nobody out there, Lawson. I'm telling you, I saw him. This place is haunted, so we're not surprised. I mean, I know what I saw. It wasn't
Sure.
I know what I saw. So that was the first incident, but it really wasn't until many, many years later. My eldest son, Ryan, and I were at St. Augustine. We were in the lighthouse where we were taking this tour, and we had the opportunity to have the lighthouse to ourselves for about an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we'd done the tour once, and we said, hey, let's do it again. It was for Ryan's 11th birthday. And so the guide says, look, you've been here once before. You know the routine. I'll take everybody else into the lighthouse, or the lighthouse keeper's house, and you can have the lighthouse. Just, and I'll bring the group out there later. We sat in there, and we actually had an experience in there that, I mean, it was kids laughing, and 3 kids died during the Reconstruction in 1879, I think.
Wow.
First thing as a cop I'm doing is I'm looking for wires and speakers and stuff, figuring that, they're piping something for the ambiance, and nothing there. And that kind of got me interested. I'm a detective by trade. That's what I did. And I just decided that, I want to find out what the answer is to all this. So we just began to investigate. And that's kind of the approach we've taken the whole time, is conducting this investigation to the paranormal world like I would a criminal investigation, the evidence and that type of thing.
That's one thing I admire about you, Larry. And I know that you also know other former and present members of law enforcement that are investigating the paranormal, and you and your colleagues are true investigators. You're not these type of investigators that watch 1 or 2 episodes of one of the TV channels and then decide that they're going to become paranormal investigators. They pay $140 for their little paranormal badge, and away they go. So my hat's off to you, and I want to thank you for your service.
You too, my friend.
So a question about when you were in the Dade County Jail. Did they have CCTV cameras back then?
No,
No way.
It was 1980. No, they didn't. If they did, it was in select spots, certainly not on all the floors.
And just from my own curiosity, how many inmates would that facility hold when it was full?
Well, how many was it supposed to hold? How many did it hold? 2 different questions.
Okay.
I think I'm remembering we had like 11 or 1,200 in there at the time, and it was designed for 700. I could be wrong, but we were way overpopulated.
So overpopulation was even a problem way back then.
Oh, sure it was.
Yeah.
Sure it was.
So what happened? Was there anything that happened at the St. Augustine Lighthouse while you and your son were there on his 11th birthday?
No, that was the most significant event we had. You got to understand, at this time, really wasn't in tune. In having a background in investigations, it gave me a nice foundation with which to conduct an inquiry.
Right.
But I really wasn't a follower of the paranormal per se. I watched the TV shows, sure. We some of that, but really wasn't a follower of it. It wasn't until I had that experience that I couldn't explain. As I said, there's no question what we heard, and we both heard it Ryan to this day is very, very skeptical, very stoic, very matter of fact about everything. And we heard it. We know we heard it. We couldn't explain it. So what was it? And that's one thing that I have taken with me during this adventure, so to speak, is that I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what a ghost is. Anybody that tells you they know exactly what it is are lying to you. They don't. Even psychics that really have the ability, they can't even, they'll admit to you, they don't even really know the full extent of it. They don't know what it is. So what is this phenomenon? And that's our quest. That's our goal. What is the phenomenon? And here's the kicker. Evidence takes you in a direction. May not be the direction you like,
Right.
but where the evidence takes you is where the answer is. And that's where we're at. We're just trying to collect the evidence, find the information, and put our personal beliefs aside. What does the evidence tell us?
Yeah. Larry Lawson is my guest, Exonation, www.indianriverhauntings.com. Larry, we've got to take our first break. Thanks for coming by and welcome back to the network, my friend.
Thank you.
Exonation Larry's show, Paranormal StakeOut, will be available at xzbn.net. And the website for the show that is not up yet, so don't go checking it out, giving me an email saying, hey, Rob, the website's not there. It's going to be up over the next week, www.paranormalstakeout.org. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Whatever you do, don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind coffee. Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
And we're back. Larry Lawson is our guest, IndianRiverHauntings.com. How haunted is Indian River? And for those who haven't had the opportunity of visiting that beautiful part of Florida, tell us about Indian River.
Indian River is it's just a beautiful place. I've when I left Ohio to go to Miami to go to college originally, thought Miami was great as a young 18-year-old, but I found myself moving up the coast and finally actually moved to Vero Beach in 96, I think. And it's just a wonderful, the people are friendly, the weather's great. It's just a great place, the only place in Florida I'd like to live, frankly. But it's got quite a history too. Indian River as a county came into play in the 1920s, but we have been involved in the history of Florida practically since the beginning with the ancient indigenous folks that lived here, the Ais Indians, the Ais Nation lived here, and had contact with the Spaniards as early as the 1560s. So there's still a lot of history here. People don't realize the smuggling that went on here during Prohibition. This whole area was a hotbed of bootleggers. So there's a lot of interesting history down here, and I love to talk about it on our tours.
Now, how long is your tour, Larry?
About 2 hours. It really depends on how many questions and how much folks want to know. I get a lot of questions not only on the history but on the paranormal, what my experiences were and are, what I think about this, that. Usually give folks an opportunity to play with some of the equipment that we use. So it really depends, but it's about 2 hours.
And where do you go on your tour? Do you go to that school that we were at once for one of the conferences you put on?
Yeah, that was Fellsmere.
Right.
We do some things out in Fellsmere. We aren't currently doing walking tours out there.
Okay.
But we do events out there that include the Marsh Landing Restaurant, which I know you remember.
Oh yes, great food, wonderful people.
And the school. We're only doing that a couple times a year now, but I do regular tours on the beach in Vero, which starts in a spot called the Driftwood, which was built by a gentleman named Waldo Sexton, who was kind of the person that put Vero on the map. And then I go up to Sebastian, which is where Captain Hiram's was, if you'll remember.
Yes, definitely.
And then I'll do a tour through there. And those both last about 2 hours. And we have a great time. We're looking to expand. I am planning on creating some tours up near Jacksonville, in a place called Green Cove Springs. That's where my daughter now lives, and the history there is quite intense and quite interesting. So I've been doing some work up there, and then probably within the next year we'll be opening a tour group up there also.
Fascinating, Larry. It seems that professional paranormal investigators like yourself are also historians.
Oh gosh, you can't have one without the other. I mean, if you have any belief in the possibility that there is an afterlife and somehow there's contact there, you have to know the history. You have to embrace the history, because otherwise none of it makes sense, Rob. So if you don't know where you're at and what the history is of it, then all the other stuff is just garbage. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So yes, history is a huge part of it. And those of us that are involved in finding the answers are intricately involved in knowing the history.
On your tours, has there ever been something that has happened that has surprised you that you can't explain, as well as that have spooked, if you'll excuse the expression, spooked those taking the tours?
There's been a number of things. Probably the most significant one was happened way before COVID. My son Evan, my middle son, had seen a woman in a window, described her, and I believed him because that's just Evan. But I never said anything to anybody about it. About a year and a half later, we're doing a tour, and couple of young ladies on the tour, and just as we're to leave the same spot, they come up to me and, Mr. Lawson, we have to tell you something. Well, what is it? Well, there's a lady up in that window. And I said, well, wait a minute, Evan, come over here. And this girl described in exact detail what Evan had seen 2 years before.
Fascinating.
And then we went, it was just after COVID. We did an investigation back at this particular building. I don't want to use their names right now. Sure. And we had an individual who has some psychic ability, and they knew nothing of the area. They knew not where we were at, any history or anything. Saw and described the same woman. Take that for whatever it's worth, but described the same exact woman. Everything was the same. So I found that pretty fascinating. We've had lots of things. At the Driftwood Inn, I was sitting there one night, and we just finished a tour, and my son had taken the group down by the beach to just because it was right there, and they wanted to take some of the equipment down there. So I'm just sitting at the table, minding my business, looking at my emails, and this woman is just sobbing behind me, just sobbing. Obviously, I turn around and look, there's nobody there. Look around the corner, nobody's there. So little things like that. Have we actually seen Waldo Sexton walk up to us? No. One of my other favorite stories was we had a group that I did a special tour for, and they had a problem the night before, and I'll try and shorten the story up a little bit. And I get there to meet them for the tour, and the clerk at the front desk said, "Hey, Larry, that we had a problem here last night, and I think it's the folks you're taking out." Okay, well, what happened? We're not sure, but it had to do with water. Okay, so we meet the folks, introduce ourselves. Did you have a problem? Yeah, we did. Well, what happened? Well, we went out to dinner, they said, came back about an hour later, and there was water running in the bathroom. We walk in there, and both water spigots were on full blast. Now, we've investigated places, Rob, where old faucets in the washers get weak and they turn on a little bit. Never full blast. These were apparently all the way to the chocks.
Oh my
And
God.
the water was starting to come over the side of the tub. And then the husband leaned forward and looked at me and said, "Yeah." And the hotel's hair dryer was in the middle of the tub, and it was 20 feet away on the counter when we left.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we're always having things like that. Now, can you sit there and say, well, somebody got into the room and did a prank? Not logical, but anything is possible. But
True.
so we have things like that happen fairly regularly. Best part about it was a year and a half later, I bring another group through there, and there's people sitting at the table we were at, and it was the folks from the tour for the Canadians. The Canadians. They got up, came over, and introduced themselves to my tour guests and told them firsthand what happened to them. So that was kind of interesting. My new guests got to hear exactly what happened to my old guests from their own mouths. So that was kind of interesting.
In your opinion, Larry, is there a reason why some people have the experience with the paranormal and other people who may be standing 2-3 feet away from them don't have the same experience or have any experience at all?
That's one of the big mysteries of this whole thing, Rob. And to this day, there's no answer for that. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. There's so much of this that is not known and not understood. Folks talk about, ghosts being the energy of those that have passed before us. But Einstein, his general theory of relativity, talks about dimensions.
Yeah.
But I love talking about the Philip experiment out of Toronto in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
That's an exercise in did their own mind create it?
Share that with our listeners and our viewers.
Oh, sure. I want to say it was 72. Please don't misquote me on the date, but I think it was around 72. It was Toronto.
Right.
An organization not unlike mine wanted to conduct an experiment. So they created a guy named Philip, made a dossier of him, gave him a wife, kids, dog, cat, whatever, put him into an important time of history, and they began to then conduct a closed investigative sessions. And my recollection is they also brought people in from the outside to witness it. They taped it back this is in the 70s, so it was probably 8mm tape or whatever. Recorded it, and they got names, they got voices, they got table tipping, they got things claiming it was Philip. But Philip didn't exist. They created Philip. So what was that? And that's why when people ask me what a ghost is, I have to say, I don't know. Do I strongly believe that there's a phenomenon out there? Yes, personally, I do. What it is, we don't know for sure yet. We just don't. And that is the quest that we're on, is to try and figure out what that is.
With all the people that have gone with you on your tours, what is the reason why they want to go? Is it that they want to have an experience? Or do they want to learn the history? Or are they just looking that maybe, just maybe, they'll be one of the very few who say, I saw a ghost?
Yes, to all three.
Fascinating.
It's first of all, I think it's part of the human psyche to get excited or curious about the unknown. I think that's natural for us. That's why we're explorers. We're exploring, whether you're exploring outer space, you're exploring under the sea, or you're exploring the mind and the things you're exploring. So I think that's a very basic thing there. Now, a lot of folks love just the history. And I ask this question too. How many of you are ghost folks? How many of you are history folks? How many of you are a little bit of both folks? And I get mostly a little bit of both. But folks, they love the history. They want to know more about the area. And I just enjoy talking about that. I enjoy teaching folks what happened here. I mean, folks don't realize it, but little old Fellsmere, you may not remember this, but Fellsmere is the first place in the United States of America a woman ever voted south of the Mason-Dixon line. Women's suffrage was born in the South, the U.S. South, in Fellsmere, Florida. So there's little things like that that people don't know that they enjoy finding out about.
So when people, at the end of the night, when people leave your group, they're a little bit more knowledgeable about the area that they just went through.
That's my hope. Even folks that are lifelong residents of Indian River County that know a lot of the history usually will say to me, you taught me something I did not realize. And to me, that's a success. Now, if we get to experience a paranormal event, all the better. But if people can walk away with a little bit more knowledge of our area and a better appreciation of our area, that's a win for me, I think.
Larry, we've got to take our break at the bottom, so please stand by. And Explanation, Larry Lawson is our special guest. He is the host of Paranormal StakeOut here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And if you're in the Fellsmere area, Vero Beach area, if you go to Captain Hiram's, great place, get a hold of Larry and join one of his tours. Website is www.indianriverhauntings.com. Larry Lawson and I will return on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And of course, the X Zone is being brought to you tonight by the good people at Beautiful Mind Coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee is the coffee that your brain will love. Visit them online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Larry Lawson is our guest. He is the host of Paranormal StakeOut here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and you can listen to past shows that Larry did with his very interesting guests at www.xzbn.net. And if you're in the area where Larry lives and conducts tours and you'd like to spend some time with a real paranormal investigator as well as local historian, visit his website at indianriverhauntings.com. Larry, do you and your team do individual investigations? For example, if I was down there and I called you up and I said, Larry, I think something is happening in my house. I think it has something to do with the paranormal. Would you and your Florida Bureau of Investigation, right?
Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, yes.
Okay, thank you. Will you guys come down and check it out?
We can. I tend to stick more towards commercial, historical type buildings, but we do private residences on occasion, if the need is there. But generally speaking, that we stick with the commercial historical type buildings. But yeah, we do other investigations. We've had several of them in the area, and people do ask us to come in and investigate their shops, their businesses, and occasionally their homes.
How do you conduct an investigation in a commercial setting?
Well, that's an interesting question because it can vary, but obviously it's done when the business is not open. We always invite the owner or representative of the property to be there, and essentially we have a protocol that we set up with cameras and teams, and the teams have to follow a strict guideline of what they're doing and how they're doing it. And that can vary depending on the property. I mean, we've done some stuff outside, so we may not use the cameras a little bit differently, but we do have a particular general protocol that we use, if that answers your question.
Yeah. What kind of equipment would you use?
Well, we like to use cameras, of course. So we have both manual cameras that we have one member of the team that is our photographer, videographer, and he follows us around and videographs the teams that are doing things. But we also have stationary DVR cameras that we'll set up at different spots. And usually myself and one other person will sit there and monitor those cameras just to see if anything happens and to verify what's happening with the rest of the investigation. So we pretty well cover the area with cameras. We don't conduct any type of experiments unless they are video taped, that type of thing.
What have you been able to catch during the recordings, not only of audio with EVPs, but on video?
Probably one of the first ones we got that really caught our eye was at a place called, I probably shouldn't use the name of the restaurant, although they may not care, but it's it's just north of Sebastian. And our group was sitting at a long table. And right next to one of my investigators, you saw the chair come out and go back in. And we tried like the dickens to recreate that. And we could not, by having people move a certain way. Did you turn your chair a certain way? Did you bump the table? But it clearly came out and in. We had another one where, and this one, I really wish we could have debunked, but we couldn't. It was a ball of light that kept following people. It had no logical movement, but it was in a petting farm, a children's petting farm, zoo type setting, and we got asked to come out there. And it was actually a bar. It wasn't even a ball. It was a bar. Kept following folks, and then I finally was looking at it, saying, "This is crazy. I'm going in there myself." So I went into the barn, and the thing latched onto me. And it was funny because at one point the bar drifted to the left, and there was a horse that was sticking its head out of the stall. And as the bar of light came to it, the horse jerked as if it saw something. And then it went back, and then it stayed on top of me for a second, and then shot down at me, and it disappeared. I don't know what it was, Rob. I'm not going to sit there and tell you it was anything paranormal, but it certainly was of interest, and we could not debunk it. It wasn't a cobweb. It wasn't a piece of string, anything like that. So I don't know what it was.
It seemed that whatever it was intelligent.
You can only surmise. I mean, it was acting in a way that we felt was deliberate, but we couldn't explain it, nor could we recreate it. And that's one thing we always try to do. We just had an incident. The team we went up to St. Augustine. We had the lighthouse all to ourselves, January 14th, and in going through the evidence, one of my team members had taken a picture, a silhouette of a human. I mean, you could see the head, the shoulders, the whole entire. So we're like, wow. Now, of course, we started asking the questions. Was there anything behind it? Did you flash? Blah, 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 blah. And we couldn't figure it out until we started checking Google Maps of the area. And we saw that there was directional markers that had a human shape to it. Was that there? No, we didn't see one there. We looked at the Google. Well, there was one in the area. And in working with the lighthouse, and I got to give the lighthouse folks, Abby in particular, I use her name, kudos, because while they were helping us debunk it, they said, yep, they found the right marker, and we were able to show that that form was no specter. It was just the reflection of this marker. So that's one thing that you have to try and do is when you get something, and it was sad. I mean, it would have been great if it was real, but it wasn't. And that's what we're about, finding the truth.
How about EVPs? How do you explain an EVP? No, I'm a broadcast engineer. I know that in the old days when we would use reel-to-reel tapes, and we would have to hold on to the tape for so many days just in case the CRTC received a complaint, we would be able to play the tape back. And I know that we used to use bulk erasers. A lot of times the bulk eraser kind of missed some tracks, and you would get what we would call ghost voices on the track. But I've heard some very amazing EVPs that were done using digital recorders, and I to this very day I don't understand it. That phenomena intrigues me.
Well, I got two of them in particular. You'll see these on our website if anybody cares to go to our website. One is in the old school in Fellsmere, and it was just before Hurricane Irma hit in 2017. It was like the Saturday before. I had a tour out there, and I had the folks inside the old school. And my team, we were going to do a little investigation after the tour was over. So the rest of my team was in another part of the building. And I had this group downstairs into what was then the Boys and Girls Club. And we all heard it. Everybody heard the footsteps coming down the stairs to it, and the door wiggle. And I thought, oh, one of the folks are coming down. And we all of us turned and looked at the door. Nothing came in. I said, oh, okay. Gonna be playful tonight. I get it. So in an abundance of caution, I go out the door. I said, told the folks to wait. And I went out the door, went upstairs to find my gang to say, hey, did anybody walk down here? Well, I get up there and they're all huddled around the elevator. Larry, you've got to see it. You got to hear this. So I walk over and they play me a tape. It was actually recorded off of a digital. And Mark Holt, one of my team members, asked the question. Billy, it's a little boy. We call him Billy. We don't know if that's his real name, but that's just how we refer to him. Billy, is this the room you like to be in? Clear as a bell, Rob. And it's on our website. You hear a, yes, sir. Now, one of two things had to happen there, Rob, because there's no kids in the building. Right. We either had to completely fake it.
And I know you better than that. You wouldn't.
Well, I've got my reputation means everything to me.
Yeah.
Or he caught it, and it's very clear. Now, another time we were in a we were the first team to go into an old state prison that was closed down, and the new owners had let us in, and we're walking around during the day just getting a layout of the land to prepare for the investigation. But we had a recorder going. And we're walking out of the main lockup. It was a juvenile, youthful offender facility. So then they had one major lockdown. And we were walking out of there and we had a recorder going. Listen to it the next day, and you hear Evan, my son, make a comment. It's a shame they were locked up in life and they're still here in the afterlife. It's a raspy, whispering type voice, but you hear a male saying, hell, we ain't dead.
Unreal.
And I don't know how that happened. I don't know. There's some folks that talk about that, do we create this ourselves? I don't know. The scientists don't even know that yet. But I can tell you those two EVPs I just talked about, they occurred. So how did it happen?
Wow.
And how did it happen? I don't know.
Larry, stand by. We've got to take our final break. But when we come back, I'd like to talk to you about your show that's going to be coming back on the air here, Paranormal StakeOut, and find out when you come back on, who your first guest is going to be, and what your vision for the show is. Exonation, my friend Larry Lawson is our special guest, www.indianriverhauntings.com. And if you'd like to find out more about Larry, his past shows are available at xzb and .net. I'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone for another night with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind coffee. Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Hewson Street South. Beautiful Mind coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
Welcome back. At a quick note, if you would like to take part in the 2023 coffee survey, all you need to do is go to www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca, click on I want to take the survey on the right hand of the screen. It'll bring you to the site that has been put up by the Consumer Surveys International. If you'd like to see where the future of coffee is going, please partake in the survey. Larry Lawson's our guest, www.indianriverhauntings.com. Now, Larry, you're the host of Paranormal StakeOut. It's coming back on the air here. Tell us about it. What are you going to be doing this year or this season?
Well, it's exciting because the past shows were all audio, so we're actually going to be doing it video, right. And I'm very excited about that. Got a couple of directions I want to go. First, I'd like to take some time to highlight some teams that I think that the viewers would want to hear from and hear about the things that they're doing and they've experienced. Certainly, I want to talk to them and grill them a little bit about their procedures and how they do things, their philosophies, which I think are very important. But I'm also kind of looking forward to delving into other areas beyond just ghosts. I want to spend some time talking with folks about the UFO phenomenon. One area that I admit have not a lot of experience with, and that's the Bigfoot phenomenon. I want to talk to folks about that, get their thoughts. I want to find out what's really happening in those fields of investigation and get an opportunity to see what they're doing to either prove or disprove the phenomenon. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've had guests on my show that have talked about the skunk ape. That's known in Florida. And do you think there's a connection between all the...
No. So I know where you're going, but go ahead.
I was just going to ask you if you think there's a connection between all the aspects of the paranormal that are investigated and that are intriguing and have been intriguing people over hundreds of years.
Do I see a connection between all of them?
Yeah. I mean, besides the human one.
Yeah. The one thing I learned about being a criminal investigator is you must always keep an open mind.
Yes.
The moment you close your mind off to any other possibilities is the day you don't solve your case.
Or
So
you get divorced, one of the two.
one of the two. um, so I don't know that there is. I find that one. I don't know about the connection between all of them. There are certainly those in the field that feels there's a connection between all of them. But I don't know yet. Now, there's a lot of folks that talk about skunk ape, Yeti,
Yes.
Bigfoot as being a dimensional creature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My first question is, why have we never seen one on a drone? Why have we never found the remains? And some folks in the field have some pretty good answers for some of
Yeah, they
that.
do, yes.
And I'm a firm believer, Rob, that I'm not going to say, no, you're full of horse hockey without me having all the facts. So I want to listen to these folks, hear what they have to say. I want to learn from them. One thing, I spent many years teaching law enforcement. And the one thing I always told my students, whether they were recruits or seasoned officers, is I want to learn from you as much as hopefully you'll learn from me. So that's kind of where I see this going, is talking to folks and finding out what they've learned. Let's see where we're going with this. In another area in the paranormal field, I want to talk to some folks that have done some things to advance what we're doing. We're stagnant in so many areas. So that's another vision I see for this show. So folks, if you want to learn about the paranormal, you want to see what other folks are doing, Paranormal StakeOut is the place to be, because I'll be having some folks on to talk about it.
When's your first show, Larry? And who's your first guest?
March 2nd, I believe, which is we're going to tape it. I don't know when it'll go on, probably shortly right after that. A group out of Iowa that have a real penchant towards paranormal unity. Excuse me. Now, what I mean
great
by that
idea. Great idea.
And we don't, I wish we had more time to talk about that on this show, but that's the one thing that's killing this field, is everybody's about me. Look at me, I'm on TV. Look at me, I've got the evidence. Oh, I can't tell you because then you might get the TV contract or whatever. And it's killing the field, and we're not advancing. If you're in this field for yourself, you're never going to be successful. But if we all pull together, if we all start putting our evidence together, talking about it, coming up with a standardization, you've heard me talk about this for years.
Sure.
Standardization so that our evidence can be categorized properly and examined properly, we're going to go so much further. These folks, Paranormal Exposure, they're up in Iowa. Really excited about some of the things that they're talking about. So they're going to be my first guests, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
Excellent. One thing I know for sure, Larry, that we have to exchange information. As law enforcement officers, we know how important it was in solving cases, and that cases that were cold files years ago are now coming back to life because of the advances that are being made with the criminal justice system and the forensic system. So I agree with you 100% that the information has to be shared. And you know what, Larry, I've seen the same thing happen within the ufology community, Bigfoot community. And I'm one that believes in the sharing of information for the good of one and all.
The sharing of the information and the desire to improve what we're doing, improve techniques, improve technology. And we can do this to say, and I refuse to listen to folks saying, well, you're just not going to be able to do it. Nuts. We can if we want to.
Larry, the time's come when I have to ask you, my friend, what is your final thought? What's your final message for the X Zone Nation tonight? I mean, besides watching you on March the 2nd as Paranormal StakeOut returns to the X Zone Broadcast Network. And we're all thrilled, and we are so happy you're back with us, Larry.
Thank you.
We've missed you, my friend.
Thank you. I guess my final thought is keep an open mind. Don't stop believing. The answers are out there. They may not be what you like. They may not be what you want to hear, but the answer's out there. Let's work together to find it.
Once again, give yourself a plug, my friend. Where can people learn out more about you? There's the Indian River Hauntings, as well as the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation.
Yeah, that's our investigative arm. Indian River Hauntings is a kind of our outreach, if you will. And you can get to both our websites at IndianRiverHauntings.com. You can also get there at ParanormalFBI.com. Both will get you to the same spot, but check us out on Facebook too, Indian River Hauntings and the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, to find out what we're doing. We have some stuff up on YouTube, some of our investigations and things. If you'd like to see a little bit more about us, Indian River Hauntings on YouTube.
Larry Lawson, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Larry. I appreciate the work you do. I appreciate the fact that you served as a law enforcement officer, and I appreciate the fact that you're my good friend.
And same here, bud. Thank you.
Take care. Please give my very best to your family.
I will, and same here.
All right, Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Larry Lawson, www.indianriverhauntings.com. That'll take you to all his sites. Check him out on YouTube. Check him out on Facebook, as well as on the Exo Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. Well, that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at the same time as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the Exo. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. And it's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and the X-Zone Broadcast Network, where our tagline is, we're searching for answers, but we're demanding the truth. To my studio producer, Craig West, thank you, buddy. To the programming director, Mac Alexander, always great working with you guys. And to my senior producer, wife and best friend, Laura Rogers, get the coffee ready. Get the beautiful mind coffee ready, honey. I'm coming home. And until once again we meet tomorrow night, whatever you do, please always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. From everyone here to everyone out there, enjoy your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.